Hello everyone, welcome to Pawpaw's Workshop. I appreciate you coming by today and spending some time with me. This is part 2 of my door sled jig. And this is where we're actually going to use the sled that we made in the last video to be able to cut off the bottom of the door. So let's go ahead and get started today's project. Okay, this is the door that's dragging. And as I open the door, it doesn't drag at first, but what you can see when it gets over to right there, it is dragging down at the bottom from here over. Okay? And you may or may not be able to hear that on the camera, but that's pretty tight right there. Now I've inspected the door itself, and it's not sagging at all. It's in tight and it's in firm. This is just an indication that the door is in place correctly, but the tile is up too high. So we're going to remedy that by cutting off the door. So let me show you how it's done. Okay, to be able to measure to cut off this door, there's actually a couple of different ways that people can do it. And I'm going to tell you 2 ways, and I'm going to show you what I like and what I dislike. One way is to use a piece of plywood. In this case, this is a 1/2 inch thick. And I would put a piece of tape at each end of the door. So I'd put one there. Then we'll put another piece on the other side. And then line up the plywood to the edge of the door and mark it. Now what will that do? That will make the clearance where it's not going to drag, but the problem that you're going to have with that method, since this is a high spot in the floor, is that when this door closes and this part over here is nice and level, then you're going to see an uneven bottom of the door. So what I prefer to be able to do is actually measure from this bottom of the hinge to the floor. And in this case, it's 8 inches. Now how far up do I want the door so that it's not going to rub there? If I bring that up at about 1 inch, that's going to be 7 inches. Okay? That's actually going to be quite high there. I'm going to make that, just cut that off at 7.5 inches. That's going to clear my space and make it where that door will not drag. So let's go to the shop and do that. Okay, with everything moved back into the shop, I'm going to measure from my hinge point down to the 7.5 inches and make my mark right there. And then the next step, I'm going to align my door jig right with that mark, and I'm going to go ahead and use a pencil mark here just as a reference, but that's because that is going to get cut away. But the other thing that I want to be able to do is score this line. That will also help to keep a nice square edge when we're cutting it so that it doesn't fray and doesn't tear out. That's going to come right across here. I'm going to do that a couple times so it scores into the wood of the door pretty well. And I think that will be good. The other thing that I do want to do is clamp this down. That will hold it in place so that there's no chance of it moving. And with my hearing protection, we'll go ahead and cut that off. Now with that cut off, that will no longer drag on the floor. The jig worked perfectly. That zero clearance made it where there was no tear out, as well as with our scoring with the knife blade. The last thing we're going to do is just kind of polish up the edge with a block plane, and I'll show you that next. This last step with the block plane just makes for a very professional look. And what I'm going to do is just chamfer the edge just a little bit, and that makes it where it's nice and smooth. It doesn't go cut into the paint, and it makes it where it's a very professional look. So there, that door is now cut. We'll reinstall it, and I'll show you that finished project with the door back in place in just a moment. With the door reinstalled, it is now time to check to see if cutting off the door with our door sled jig actually worked. So there's the bottom of the door. It looks real good. So let's go ahead and open it. And it swings back, and there is no dragging at all now. So perfect. That's what we wanted to be able to accomplish. So that completes part 2. Thank you for visiting my shop today. This was a fun little project. Building this door sled jig actually brings back a lot of memories. My father had introduced this to me some 50 years ago, and I had forgotten about it over the years. So this was fun to be able to build, be able to remember him, and remember the memories that it brought with me. Being able to use this certainly made the job a lot easier and quick. So again, thanks a lot for visiting today, and as always, take care, be safe, have a good day.